Alright, the instructions say they should be here, but all I see is... Well, I'm screwed.
Thanks, Discord. We sure love first impressions. Hi, I'm Mienshao, the Mienshao.
Hey, I'm nervous, as usual.
Bless.
I guess it's time for the interview.
Straight down to business, huh? Roger.
I had an intro, but it didn't make sense because I didn't add you out of nowhere like everyone else. But yeah, I've got 5 questions and 1 bonus question. Are you okay with this being publicized?
Absolutely. Go right ahead, friend.
Alrighty then. 1. Do you remember how you got into PMD Explorers?
Yes, it was 2013. I was at college. I had seen lots of art and activity from the group on DeviantArt from time to time, and it was a mix of FOMO and feeling lonely. Eventually, I caved and joined.
Ah, I see. 2. Favorite and least liked parts of being in PMDE?
Tough question. Favorite parts? I definitely enjoyed writing my story entries. I enjoyed hanging out with the community a lot, and I loved having the opportunity to voice Shroomsworth. Least favorite parts? Well, every community has its ups and downs. There was drama, there were fallouts. Got a little awkward in the IRC a few times. And someone there really didn't like me. Someone who had quite a lot of status and power. We clashed once, and it ended quite dramatically. It all worked out in the end, though.
Huh, think that last part answered the 3rd question. But for consistency's sake, 3. How were you treated by admins and other members?
I didn't interact much with most of the admins, but PK/GP treated me fine when we did talk. They weren't big interactions, but I was a good friend of their sister, Cass. And by the rest of the mods and members, I was treated with respect, and I think, generally, I had a positive reputation there. I just had a lot of naturally happy energy, and I was really glad to be part of a community. It's also how I met my bestie, Reshidov. Very important for me to state that. That person I mentioned who didn't like me was one of the other admins. And I guess we just didn't see eye to eye, so he kinda sorta banned me for a week once. Oops.
Okay, this next one's probably going to be a big one. 4. How was working on voice acting? Was Glib strict on how you had to act? Was there any need for coaching? Did you get to interact with the other VAs?
Working on voice acting was a lot of fun. Literally not a single moment of it wasn't. Glip was not strict. They just provided me with some lines that they wanted me to read to see if I could get the emotion right. And they were happy with what I provided. There was no coaching required. They just sent me a script after I'd gotten the part, and I started recording a bunch of draft lines. I did get to interact with some of the other voice actors, but it was just by our usual daily IRC chatting. There weren't any sessions where we'd voice our lines together. I just recorded mine and sent them in. Though I had ordered this Blue Yeti microphone that I'm using right now to redo my lines with better sound quality, but it didn't arrive on time, and they just ended up using the lines that I'd recorded on a crappy laptop whilst sitting inside a wardrobe. By the way, some of my lines may have been taken out of context from a certain comic and repurposed to fit the animation settings. I knew of that comic when I'd received the lines, so the part where Shroomsworth was flipping out about privacy, those are the repurposed lines.
Oh. I didn't know they were repurposed from...
Aye, that is for the best, dear Chatot.
Alright. Last question before the bonus. 5. Anything else you want to say about your time at the group?
Not necessarily. It was certainly a learning experience for me. Like I said, there were ups and there were downs. I made some memories. I have some interesting stories to tell. Some of them staying within the topic, some that transition outside of the topic. It was always good fun hanging out in that community, especially when new Pokemon games were released, as you can imagine from being part of a Pokemon group. By the way, I really appreciate you reaching out to me to do this interview, and I respect the effort that you've gone through to preserve so much of the group's history. I think you've done a fantastic job, and you should be proud of what you've accomplished.
Aw, thanks.
Thank you!
Alright, time for the bonus question. 6. Can you give me some tips on voicing a British character / doing the accent? Good day. This is a sample of an American attempting a British accent. That concludes the sample. And here's my American voice if you want to compare.
What kind of advice can I give to the lovely chatot about voice acting British characters? Well, depends on what you're going for, I suppose. You could always look up British voice actors, like that fellow who voices Shulk from Xenoblade. Or perhaps you're looking for something a little more posh sounding. A real British gentleman. In which case, Professor Layton is your go-to source for inspiration and reference, dear chatot.
I haven't thought about using them as references. I'm just afraid of coming off as stereotypical sounding.
Stereotypical American voice acting a British character just turns into an Australian accent. You're not too bad at it already, honestly. If you're serious about it, practice is what every voice actor will tell you. Just be sure to do your vocal warm-ups and all that jazz. You don't sound Australian, by the way. I think you did a pretty good job.
Thanks. If I wanted to go for Australian, probably would have just tried mimicking the sniper. And thanks for taking the time to do this little interview.
You are so very welcome, friend. Is there anything else you'd like to ask? Otherwise, the pleasure's been all mine.
That was all the questions I had in the Google Doc.
Anything you're personally curious about? Gosh, I hope I'm not coming off as intimidating. I'm just a silly weasel after all. Oh, goodness. Deep breaths.
Okay, well, I had another Google Doc I made just for fun.
You did, huh?
I am the bone of my economy. Stocks are my body, and payments are my blood. I have sold over 1,000 items. Unknown to fainting, known to life. Have withstood pain to sell many items. But yet, those paws will lose everything. So, as I pray, unlimited merchants works!
Oh no!
That was perfect.
Well, shucks. I'm glad. It was fun!
You're a really fun person.
Gosh, and you're adorable, especially when you're flustered.
I just get excited when it's something related to Shroomsworth, my husbando.
Happy to provide.